you ever think when you voted for President Trump that things were going to cost you more and you were going to lose money?
I never thought I was going to lose this much money, this fast.
And he made $2.5 billion today, and he made $900 million. That's not bad, because he's a financial.
Need an independent investigation into market manipulation because Americans need to know.
All right, I dabble in a little bit of screenplay writing, so let me see if I can set the scene for you. Open on Wall Street, a stock floor. It's a bloodbath. People are freaking out, you know, like that time that Robert Downey Jr. went to see Wall Street. Then we cut to orange fingers on the keys texting, quote, "Be cool." Cut back to the stock floor, and that is when we see a message start to filter throughout, like a game of telephone. We cut back to the orange fingers on the keys again, typing, quote, "This is a great time to buy." Chaos erupts on the stock floor. Buying, selling, excitement, greed is in the air. Then we cut to a news desk. An announcer says Trump pauses his, quote, Liberation Day tariffs. And of course, we cut to billionaires laughing like Tony Montana with rolls of cash as telephones, and finally cut to Oval Office. And what do you know? Only this part is real life.
This is Charles Schwab. It's not just a company, it's actually an individual. And he made $2.5 billion today, and he made $900 million. That's not bad, because he's in financials. I've always been fine.
And scene. What's a Trump presidency without some scheming and market manipulation helping pad the wealth of the wealthy at the detriment to everybody else? Many of whom likely pulled what was left of their 401ks as Trump went back and forth on his tariff plan.
The president was asked and answered this yesterday. He said he's not considering an extension or a delay. I spoke to him before this briefing. That was not his mindset. He expects that these tariffs are going to go into effect. And there will be a 90-day pause on the reciprocal tariffs as these negotiations are ongoing, and the tariff level will be brought down to a universal 10% tariff. Many of you in the media clearly missed the art of the deal. You clearly failed to see what President Trump is doing here.
Donald Trump is trashing our economy. First, Donald Trump imposed across-the-board tariffs. Then, just a few hours ago, he dropped those tariffs to 10% on everyone and moved the tariffs up to 125% on China, up from 105% yesterday. Now, there's confusion, there's chaos. No one knows what the tariffs will be tomorrow or the next day or next week or next month. But here's what we do know. Are prices still going up? Yes. Are businesses still wary about investing? Yes. Are millions of working people still worried about their jobs, and millions of small businesses still worried about closing shop?
A back and forth that was even too volatile for Fox News.
Would you be open to a pause in tariffs to allow for negotiations?
Well, we're not looking at that.
Will you do a 90-day pause? Would you consider that?
Or Bill, yeah, you know, I think that the president is going to decide what the president's going to decide.
Here's the thing. This is not a negotiation.
There is no postponing. They are definitely going to stay in place for days and weeks. That is sort of obvious.
But as a result, according to Bloomberg, the world's wealthiest people added $304 billion to their combined net worth on Wednesday, the largest one-day gain in the history of the Bloomberg Billionaires Index, as stock markets soared after Trump pledged to pause tariffs on some trading partners. Now this, of course, coming after he sent a message saying it was a good time to buy. And after the tariff pause was announced, the S&P 500 index jumped the most since 2008, reversing steep losses over the past few days and boosting the fortunes of the world's 500 richest people by an average of 3.5%. Lo and behold, the largest individual gainer Wednesday was Tesla CEO Elon Musk, who added $36 billion to his fortune, followed next by Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg, who gained almost $26 billion. And just to check, all right, of course, they were all at the inauguration.
President Trump posted on social media that it was, quote, a great time to buy stocks. A few hours later, he announced a pause on tariffs, which sent the market skyrocketing. Your colleague, Senator Adam Schiff, says Congress should investigate whether Trump and his inner circle engage in insider trading. Do you agree?
I noticed that. And that's just one of another outrageous things. Imagine, I don't know for a fact, but would I be surprised if there were people who hours before knew exactly what Trump was going to do in rescinding his tariff proposals, understanding that the stock market would soar and you make huge amounts of money? Would I be shocked if we learned about that in the days to come? No, I would not.
Does that announcement that he gave cover to anybody who did buy stocks?
Well, what it does do, look, if you know 2 hours earlier that the stock market's going to go, what are you going to do? You're going to buy a hell of a lot of stock. You can invest in the stock market. But it's not only that. I mean, you got a president of the United States who is now working to give government cover to crypto, and whose family is involved in crypto, makes money by selling coins, crypto coins. Anybody can contribute, which is a direct line to the president. So, I have serious problems about all that.
It wasn't just the billionaire brigade offered a red carpet to the Oval Office that benefited. MAGA nut and professional conspiracy theorist Marjorie Taylor Greene has found herself under intense scrutiny after she disclosed a plethora of new stock purchases on Wednesday, prompting calls for an investigation by prominent Democrats.
And what I want to know, what we want to know, is what did Marjorie Taylor Greene know before that announcement happened? And what stocks did she and her family trade leading up to that announcement?
We need to get to the bottom of the possible stock manipulation that is unfolding before the American people, including what, if any, advanced knowledge did members of the House Republican Conference have of Trump's decision to pause the reckless tariffs that he put into place. There are several members of Congress who will be aggressively demanding answers and transparency, particularly as it relates to stock purchase decisions that may have occurred over the last few days.
As a follow-up to that question, are there any avenues that Democrats can explore to force an investigation in the House, or are you all essentially handcuffed by being the minority?
There will be several avenues that we will be able to pursue, and will do so aggressively. And in fact, because of current congressional rules, we know that members of the House of Representatives will have to disclose any stock trades that they've made 30 days from the date of those trades, or potentially no later than 45 days. And so the reality is people are going to have to pay the piper in terms of disclosure. And so our point is you might as well get it out into the public domain now, because it's coming later. And there's nothing that you can do about it.
About market manipulation on the back of Donald Trump's
Absolutely. Absolutely. I have many questions. I'm very curious as to some of the discussions that were happening at the NRCC dinner, the Trump speech the night before this tariff announcement. I'm very interested in the May 15th disclosure deadline for members of Congress, and what members of Congress, Republican or Democrat, were trading the day before and the morning of the tariff announcement. And I'm very interested in tracking some of the communications and who was communicating with whom in the 48 hours preceding.
What should the next step be, do you think?
Pardon?
What should the next step be, do you think?
Well, there are a couple of next steps. The most obvious and clear next step, I believe, is moving to the floor the insider trading ban for members of Congress. Now, of course, that is challenging to do when many of the people who would be subject to that.
And listen, if there's anyone that dares act surprised, especially if they voted for this man, they're either willfully ignorant or in denial, because this is par for the course. See the gains from his first term as proof.
So we had the U.S. Trade Representative here before our committee. Literally, while he was sitting here, breaking news, Donald Trump tweets from the White House that he was pausing these tariffs, which are taxes on the American people. The trade representative, who's really supposed to handle all of this negotiation on behalf of the administration, knew nothing about it in advance. We asked him specifically what this pause means, how long will it be, who does it apply to. He had no answers. What this shows is chaos. It shows erratic actions by this administration. But the unfortunate part is this is affecting people back in Nevada and all across this country. The president promised to lower costs from day one, and his actions are doing the direct opposite. He imposed these tariffs based on an emergency about fentanyl getting across our border. What happened to that? That is the rationale that he used for declaring his authority to institute these taxes. So we are going to continue to speak up, to defend my constituents, to protect their economic well-being and their retirement, and so much more. There are more questions after this hearing than there has been answers by this administration, but we'll continue to get to the bottom of it.
And as always, who's collateral? Who are the ones thrown into disarray as their 401ks tank and unlike Trump's mega donors don't have a spare billion or two to play chicken with the market?
Did you ever think when you voted for President Trump that things were going to cost you more and you're going to lose money?
I never thought I was going to lose this much money, this fast.
Jim is a Republican who voted for Donald Trump 3 times.
How do you feel about your vote for Donald Trump now?
Well, I feel like perhaps I should have considered some other options.
Time and time again, this man shows us who he is, and yet here we are again. You see, a nation that refuses to learn from their past mistakes are destined to repeat.
Love this video? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch and help us blow past 1 million followers.